Are recording with the one and only Mr. Gregg Phillips. I believe your third time on here on Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 4:04 p.m. Eastern time. You know, I,
I
and
think we did it. I think we did it about a year ago or
I
something,
think
man.
so.
Maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't. Maybe it wasn't that long. But it's been
I
a
think it
while.
was around I think it was around I vividly remember because I did it and then I went and I think like that night I finished the podcast and then I flew out to go see some friends, some close friends of
Yeah,
mine who are
yeah.
all insanely liberal. And they're like,
Up
yeah,
in the
Tommy,
north,
how's the
up in the
podcast going?
northeast somewhere, right? Weren't you
Yeah.
going up to Maryland or somewhere?
Yeah. I was like, and they're like, how's the podcast going? I was like, pretty good. And one of them pulled it up and I was like, oh man, the most recent episode is me and Gregg Phillips talking about like election integrity in the Marxist left. And I remember saying, I was like, this is maybe like the worst episode for you guys to check out because I think it starts with
Exactly.
like communists or godless heathens. And I'm like, well, God has a sense
That's
of humor.
it.
Yeah.
There you go.
With that, for everyone that doesn't know you or maybe hasn't watched our past episodes, aside from being a beard aficionado, Mr. Phillips, could you please introduce yourself and just kind of tell them who you are?
Sure. Name's Gregg Phillips. I've been in the elections, political, sort of intelligence space for about 40 something years. Started in Alabama in 1982 and done lots of things since then. Been all over the country, run super PACs, run state parties, run lots of campaigns and all this kind of stuff. And these days we run our own election intelligence uh, data fusion center. We partner with Catherine Engelbrecht and her 501c3 at True the Vote, and we get a lot of stuff done. 2,000 Mules was one of our efforts, or at least from the research and the I guess I don't know. I don't know if you say we were featured. I think that's what the playbill does, is that we were featured in the movie, but it was our stuff. Um, and yeah, I mean we're getting ready to roll here. We got to spend a little bit of time last in jail last year after exposing some Chinese Communist Party shenanigans in the United States elections, and here we are. It's already what, May, and I think we're what, 15 months out from the election or something crazy. 16 months out.
Yes, sir.
It's crazy. It's crazy time,
And
dude. So what's up with you, man? Every time I come on here, I'm just thinking I keep getting freaking older. My beard gets more gray, and
it
I
looks
look at you, and
incredible.
you're getting younger. What the hell?
Well, it's I am a DARPA AI bot. A lot of people have wondered that, and it is the truth. I am purely nanotubes and nanobots. I am from DARPA. I am a World Economic Forum prototype. Still haven't worked out the kinks, but so I actually am regressing in age and getting smarter with every passing. Now I had a pretty bad panic attack in September of last year, probably the worst one I'd ever had, and was like, yeah, I think I just got to cut out alcohol. And after cutting out alcohol, well, when you're not drunk, it's a lot easier to not order McDonald's. And so I've lost about 30 pounds in the last 6 months.
Dude,
And
really?
so I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, I miss alcohol, but I also kind of like fitting in pants again. So that's cool. Yeah.
Amen.
I can't
Yeah,
grow a
no,
beard,
that,
which is a curse.
yeah. Wait till you get older, man.
I know.
I think I told you, or at least maybe somebody else last year, that I couldn't really grow a beard good until after I got cancer the first time. So if you can't grow one, don't worry
Weird.
about it. You'd rather not have a beard than have cancer. I promise
Well, well, yeah. So it's not gonna work though, because my grandpa, I take it after my mom's grandpa. Me and my little brother do. My two older brothers don't. They can both grow beards. My grandpa died in his 80s, never being able to grow a beard. Gets catchy BS, and that's what I have. Still enough that I have to shave, or it looks disgusting. So that's the one bad hand I was dealt. But yeah, everything's good. Moved up to New England, getting closer to family. I mean, really
you. Nice.
couldn't be happier. I mean, really
Excellent news. Excellent news.
can really say I am more at peace, more in touch with God, more honest with myself than I've ever been in my life. And
Good news,
that's
friend.
a that's to me good news. Um and now after that preface of saying good news and optimism, I'm now going to be the pessimist. Um so watched some of those clips from Trump last night and I was laughing my ass off. And but I also feel a little bit like Charlie Brown in the football, and everyone's like, listen to that crowd. He's getting an ovation, which is a good indicator. If your CNN
Sure.
crowd is cheering for Trump, that's probably a strong indicator. I can't look past what happened at 5 in the morning after the election. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but everyone's like, they just handed Trump the election. I'm like, yes, on paper, in a world of fair elections and just numerical counting, I would say he won. However, we have past that precipice of open fraud. And we now know that the people's voice doesn't actually matter if you can just bring in pallets of ballots at 5 a.m. And what a coincidence, I have on the expert himself with us. Your
Well, a
thoughts
couple
on
things.
going forward?
Yeah, let me jump in.
Yes, sir.
So of course, last night was because I had a number of calls happen at the same time, so I was kind of in and out watching it. Saw part of it. I think they name checked us, and another Trump did, and all that's great. Um, I don't think they gave him the election. I think they may have given him the nomination,
Hmm.
at least to get him to November.
Interesting.
Which so to your point though, assuming that that's true, we still have to contend with this. We've done a lot of work on this, and this goes back to, in the United States, back to 1800. So they stole it tried to steal it from Thomas Jefferson in 1800. It was a different process. It was a different way to elect presidents back then. But nevertheless, they tried to steal it from him, and he, wrangled around and stole it, and basically, pulled it back away from the thieves. A few years later, in 1824, they stole it from Andrew Jackson. 4 years after that, he figured out how they stole it, and he stole it back from them. With this country's been through 50. Let's see, that would be 1852 was a problem. 1856 was a problem. 1860 was a problem. 1864 was a problem. Of course, that was during the war. Um, and then you get into the whole Tammany Hall stuff up in New York that basically controlled politics for, at least for most of the country's population for a good 20, 25 years. But they were stealing left and right. They were stealing local. They were stealing from Democrats. They were stealing from Republicans. Everybody was stealing from everybody. And it was a massive disaster in 1860 or 1960. Truth be told, John F. Kennedy won because they stole Chicago
Mm-hmm.
and they stole Texas
Yeah.
with Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah.
And now fast forward again, and you've got remnants of all of this all throughout time. I've got a 4 or 5 minute video that we put up. A mentor of mine, a guy that I started working for when I was just a kid, a guy named Perry Hooper, was running for Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court in 1994. Went to bed ahead by 15,000 votes, woke up behind by 24 votes. Turns out that they indeed manufactured votes in a rural county in Alabama. Um, and he fought back. Had some amazing lawyers with him, Burt Jordan, and there was like 7 or 8 lawyers against the Clinton Justice Department and the Alabama Trial Lawyers Association. It took 11 months to get him seated, but the United States Supreme Court ultimately said about that race, whatever the law is the law on election day. And it doesn't matter what the lawyers think, doesn't matter what the candidates think, doesn't matter what the people think.
Mm.
What the law is the law, and you can't make up your own law. Second thing they said was there's no such thing as substantial completion on a ballot. In other words, if the law says that you've got to have on the envelope of a mail-in ballot, that you've got to have a signature, a date, a witness's signature, and the witness's date, then you've got to have 2 signatures and 2 dates. And that's just it. And it's not, and if there's 2 signatures and 1 date, it's not good enough.
Not horseshoes and hand grenades.
Exactly right. And so the United States Supreme Court was very clear about that. So what they set out to do at that point was really to start cheating in other ways. That case, the Hooper case, was ultimately one of the deciding arguments in the Bush v. Gore fiasco a few years later. 6 years after, and here we are. And so what they've done today is they've really, as Catherine says, they institutionalized the fraud now, right? So it's not as blatant as it was. It's not as, oh my gosh, it's out there. Now it's just like, okay, the only way we can do, I'm paraphrasing here for all of their cheats, but the only way we can win this thing is if we get a whole bunch of mail-in ballots, that are a whole bunch of ballots that are in the mail that can be manipulated for people who don't live there anymore, or so on and so forth. So you have all these extra ballots hanging around. So what are they going to do? They're going to go stuff them in drop boxes. They're going to mail them in and fake the signature, or they're just going to mail them in, not sign them at all. And because the Republicans in 1982 signed a consent decree that said, in New Jersey, it's called the New Jersey Consent Decree, sort of infamously amongst Republicans. And what they said was, we're not going to ever get involved in election integrity issues ever, forever. In 1982, that was signed. So what happened was, from 82 to 92 to 2002 to 2018, when it finally expired, you had the Democrats lining up, the Mark Eliases of the world, and all these, souped up lawyers in their $5,000 suits and all of this kind of stuff. But they're skilled in obfuscating the facts in election integrity cases. All the while, because the Republicans weren't allowed to work in election integrity from, for all those, what is that, 18 and 18, so 36 years, Republicans weren't allowed to do election integrity activities, and by their own agreement. So you didn't have any lawyers that were skilled. You didn't have lawyers that were ready to fight. We have good lawyers on our side, but not skilled in election integrity matters. So by the time 2020 rolls around, you had lawyers that were, might have been great litigators on, corporate espionage
Sure.
or whatever, who were called into action on something that they had no idea about it. So we're talking to lawyers all over the country in 2020 and 2020, early 2021. And they're like, well, we don't know much about this, but we're really good lawyers. And of course, they don't realize that the time's a ticking. And
Yeah.
once that vote was certified, the likelihood of turning it around was very limited in any state. And to make it even more complicated, of course, we have the Electoral College at the federal level. And then once those electors discharge their duty, which is to elect the president, they cease to be electors. And so all of these things compounded into challenge after challenge after challenge that our lawyers on our side were ill-equipped to argue. And so what it gave was this illusion that everything's okay. Democrats figured out how to shut us down, how to, just call us liars, get the courts to sanction us, blah, 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 blah. And then 22 rolls around. So 2022 was a tiny bit of a hybrid into that, right? The right's lawyers finally started getting their nose up under the tent, finally started getting some people that kind of had, okay, I get that. We found a great group of lawyers that we're working with. Carrie Lake's working with a great group of lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Olson and that team. And as you really start kind of thinking about this, the most our lawyers could be skilled is 4 years tops, right? From 2018 to 2022.
Yeah.
But now we've got a couple cycles behind us. We've got a lot of opportunity to educate folks. We've got this new product called Open Ink, open.ink. We're gathering all of the election integrity related litigation as far back as we can possibly grab it. We're going to get every motion, everything that there ever was available, and we're going to make it available to the lawyers on the right, so that they'll at least have the ability to go back and look at it. The reason we're kind of honed in on that is when we decided to make that little video, and I'll shoot you a link on it. It's on my Rumble page. We couldn't find the data. we couldn't find the information. We couldn't find the newspaper articles. We couldn't find. I had to go down, and John David had to go down to meet with Judge Hooper's son, and go meet. We got video of Judge Hooper's wife explaining. She's much older now, but it was an amazing video, and we learned so much. But the point of all this is, the data wasn't available online readily. How could that be? A major decision by the U.S. Supreme Court about a matter pertinent to everything happening in 2020, and we couldn't find it. I was deep involved in that case. I knew where everything was. I knew what it was. I remembered press conferences and so on and so forth. John David ends up down at the Department of Archives in Montgomery, Alabama, digging through all manner of files we pulled out. The Hooper family had a whole bunch of stuff, and you'll see in the video, we show some of the archives. We show some of the videos that he was able to obtain from the Department of Archives. But think about the 2 points that the Supreme Court made, and how salient and how relevant are they even today?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the law is on election day is the only thing that matters. And there is no such thing as substantial or partial completion or substantial completion in that case. And there's no such thing as that. And they don't recognize that in the law, and the Supreme Court did. How important would that have been in Arizona right now, where they're looking at envelopes without signatures, with bogus signatures. What does this matter? What does the law say about the signatures? Forget what this Rumbarger company or whatever they're called is doing. Think about what the law says. What is the law, folks? And and quit worrying about whether or not some judge somewhere is fully briefed up on a case that happened in Alabama in 1994. Let's get down and educate these lawyers at everything they need to know. Let's support them with data. Let's support them with information. And let's start, more importantly, let's start fighting back against this bogus process. Now that we have some lawyers to help us, and for us, we went to jail over a related issue. But we had great lawyers. These great lawyers helped us get out of jail. And then we turned it around and used Open Ink to expose all of this data. We pushed it all onto Open Ink. A day later, they dropped the lawsuit against us. And so these are the kind of tools and the kind of methods we have to use. Tommy, the bottom line is, and I was talking to Boone Cutler and Mike Flynn about this, we have to stop playing defense only, right? You can't win a game if all you're doing is playing defense. You have to play offense. And so what are you going to play offense with? Are you going to do it, or are you not going to do it? Yeah, we still need folks playing defense, trying to catch them doing bad things. And, we've got to have, all sorts of surveillance around these drop boxes. And, we've got to have, trained people while they're counting. And we've got to know what to do if you get kicked out, and so on and so forth. All those things are important, but that's all defense. What are we going to do about offense? How are we going to do this? Where they beat us? They beat us on the ground. They're walking in these voters' lives, and they know that if Jane Doe moves from Atlanta to Birmingham, that her ballot is still going to be coming to her house, the old house, because they don't take them off the rolls. And so all of these things are super important to know from a defensive perspective. But what if the parallel here would, what if we knew that Jane moved into Hoover, Alabama, right? And what are we going to do about that? Well, let's do it when they seat a church. You know how they get new members, or a lot of churches do. They go look at water starts when they turn on your water and turn on your power. Yeah. They go knock on their door. They send somebody from the church over, knock on their door, and say, "Hey, I'm from this so and so Baptist church, and we'd love to have you come visit with us." That's what we have to do. That's what they're doing to us. So it's both playing offense and playing defense. I don't buy this notion that we're never going to win again. I don't believe it. No. The reality is that if you consider that the national popular vote doesn't even exist, the left loves to talk about this, that Hillary won the national popular vote and Biden won by whatever millions of votes. And so what? It doesn't matter. It's not how you elect presidents. It may matter down ballot. It does matter down ballot. But that's why we've got to have folks on our farm team running for school board, folks on our team, running for state rep and state senator and Congress and senators and so on and so forth. we've got to have folks that believe in what we're talking about here. We've got to have folks ready to fight back in all of these races. And once we do that, we got a chance. I can say this with certainty, Tommy. We have more folks in the election integrity movement today than in my 42 years in this business.
Wow.
By far, nothing even close. I mean, I can remember years like in 1994, there was nobody working election integrity for Judge Oprah. There was nobody in the polls. There were some poll watchers, but they were mostly for the other side, right?
Yeah.
And but now you can imagine. I mean, what we got to do is we've got to target these precincts from a defensive perspective. We've got to target the precincts that are problematic. We've got to target it down to the census block, and we have to understand everything there is to know. We've got to have block captains and precinct captains and rolling up to county directors and state directors. We've got to take this away from the RNC. The RNC is never, ever, ever going to help. They're not going to help. You can already tell now they're pushing back against Trump. They're doing everything they can do to help DeSantis, and they're just desperate to have it, right? We've got to, we sort of euphemistically internally call it building an open RNC, because the RNC is a closed club, man. If you're not part of it,
ain't you and me.
Forget it.
Yeah.
It ain't us.
They are as different than you. They and the DNC are far more similar than me and a liberal who is in the apartment across the hall. We both make the same amount of money and live in the same building.
Yeah. Catherine says it this way: we're all a lot more alike than we are different, right?
1,000,000%. There is a very small group of people with an inordinate amount of power and money and pull in both the military, the finance industry, the legislative branch, the entire global projection of U.S. hegemony in D.C. They are alien. For all intents and purposes, they are a different species than you and I. We are probably in the same tax bracket. We probably pay the same amount for groceries. We are much more alike. And to look at a slight difference in the color of the tie that the millionaire lobbyist in DC wears, because one wears a baby blue and one wears a dark red, to think that they are the savior, it's your own fault.
Amen. That's exactly right. Listen, when back when they were doing the RNC's election, and I know a little bit about this stuff, and and folks, I think there's 168 members now. So every state has, every state has three. Let me rephrase that. Every state and every territory has three members of the Republican National Committee. So the three people in Puerto Rico have the same pull as the three people in Massachusetts, or in California, or Texas, or whatever. And so this is how they manipulate the situation. Right. So you've got all of these, the Mariana Islands and all of these people, Guam.
There should be 6, right? So 168, 50 times 3 would be 150, 18, which would be 6, right?
Yeah.
Guam.
Exactly right.
Mariana, Puerto Rico.
What else is there?
What would be the other 3? Or Virgin
Islands?
Figure
it out.
Is that one?
There you go. There you go.
There's probably like 2 more tiny ones. I think there are, 2 like weird little territories. Getting off into the weeds. Sorry, 168.
Yeah, but anyway, the point of it is that's a very close club, and people kept saying, well, okay, well, we're going to take this thing over. I think Lindell ran, and I think Harmeet Dillon ran, who happened to be part of the club. Well, there was no way that Lindell was going to win. You know why? He's not part of the club. Yeah. He's not part of the 168.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could have done. He wasn't going to win. And Harmeet's problem was Harmeet was from California. And so right there, the whole thing sort of explains itself, right? And you've got Ronna McDaniel running an operation that is spending zillions of dollars. You can't raise money for a candidate, or you can't get any from the committees unless you use their favored payment processing system, so that they can generate their own money, sell their own lists over and over and over again, win red, act blue, whatever it is. It's all the same thing. It's all part of the club. They're all generating cash, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Complete bullshit. And so we've sort of internally been talking a little bit about, what? They talk about parallel economies. How about a parallel political party? I'm not talking about, starting a new Patriot Party or anything like that, because all that's going to do is just siphon off votes,
Yeah.
and we might never win. But what if you started a parallel? And what if you could gain enough power inside the party to get a bigger vote
Yeah.
force? Not saying you could, but what if you could?
I also
And
don't.
anyway, you got to do. We got to do something. And if we don't do it, then we're doomed forever. But it's just not my way, man. This may be my last rodeo, or not, or but it's for sure my Alamo. I mean, I'm not turning back, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how many are amassed outside the walls. We're going to fight back until we die, and that's just the way it is. Which brings me back to the previous point. This has been going on for over 200 years in this
Yeah.
country, right? For 225 years, they've been cheating, and so if that's true, then I think that this statement is sort of illustrative of what we all have to believe. So it's the plight of the patriot to be forever diligent in these elections, and to make them be free and fair, and keep them on as level as we can, because we're just a half a step away from mob rule, and they've already talked about national popular vote. And if we stop being vigilant and we stop fighting, the truth of the matter is these elections are like individual battles. They're not the war. The war is for the republic. The war is for the continuance of this great nation, and this God-given republic that was hoisted upon us all. And you either fight back, or you sit home, or sit on Twitter and complain, or get on Truth Social and bitch because you don't like me, and you don't like what I say, and you don't like my words, and you don't like my beard, or I don't care. So
Jealous of the
what?
beard. It's
So
jealousy.
so so exactly, that's true. So if you're a patriot, it doesn't matter what you think about me. Get out and do something. Get out and
Mm.
fight. If your job is to complain about me, maybe you're actually not on our side, right? Who's paying you? Is it coming
Mhm.
from who do you get your paycheck from? Act Blue? I don't know. Doesn't make any difference to me. Or possibly even Win Red, or
Mm.
those crowds. And
There you
so
go.
who cares? You know what? We're going to win this thing one way or another, and we're just going to keep fighting until we do. And young folks like y'all getting into the game, and John David getting in the game, and all these other young people that are involved in it. You guys are the future of all this stuff. Our work is basically done. I've got a few more cycles at the max, and you guys have to do this, but you're going to be having this conversation or something like this with somebody in 30 years, brother.
Well, there's a lot of takeaways from all of that, and for me, I'll take the biggest one, and it's this has been going on for 200 years. And when you first realize that, that's very depressing, right? But then it's almost sort of it's almost enlightening, and it's almost inspiring in
But
that.
in a representative republic, it is just true that it's the plight of the patriot to hold the line on the elections. Right?
Let,
That's
let's
why
look,
we're here.
let's look at World War One. Let's look at all the defense contractors that were selling inoperative rifles. It's evil. You're killing men, right? Let's look at the people double dipping in World War Two. That will always happen. Does that mean the entire military is screwed? No. Does that mean every war is evil? Absolutely not. But it does mean that you're going to have a certain amount of fraud and disgust in all these organizations. And if you try to throw the whole thing out, then you're going to die with nothing, because you're always going to be looking for perfection, and perfection doesn't
Right.
exist. So
Amen.
whereas you might look at something like, you see the 2020 election, you go, well, it's over. They've stolen the election. Now they own the apparatus of the government and the levers of power. They're going to do whatever they want. And then you go, well, Bush might have stolen it in 2000. And then you go, JFK, LBJ, but we're still here. And so there's actually a moment of brevity in that you realize they have been stolen before, and the republic didn't end. And that doesn't mean that you can now be lazy. It just means that those are chinks in the armor that were patched up, and then another chink happened. And that is the nature of warfare. You get better missiles, they get better anti-aircraft or anti-missile systems, and you get lasers, and then they get counter lasers, and it goes on forever. And you realize it's actually a constantly moving river that's never over, but it just does mean that you have to Stay vigilant. You got to go to the gym every day. You can have some Big Mac every once in a while. You can go visit your parents and eat 5 pounds of waffles like I did this last Saturday, and that's fine. But you got to get back on the wagon, hit the gym. It doesn't mean it's over. So you can't just go 2020 is over. It's happened. Nothing can happen. There is actually some lightness in realizing it's happened before. Okay. The next thing is the idea of parallel. You have to look at what has actually happened to find inspiration for why more can happen. Now, if 3 years ago you had told me we need a parallel political party, I would have said, dude, that's okay, you're starry-eyed. But personally, being in the podcast community and being banned from YouTube and Reddit and iTunes and for a while Twitter, and building back and then actually tripling my subscriber count on parallel platforms, Spotify, Rumble, Truth,
Right.
Getter, I have now seen in 3 years the monolith of Google now become just like yeah, that was a hurdle. I had to get over it. It was difficult, took a little bit, but I got over it and I'm actually doing better. That's that's inspiring. You go, I just did that. What else can I do? I just did 10 push-ups. I bet I can do 15. It might take a while, but I can do that. And then lastly, the attacks. You're always going to have attacks, right? And people are going to disagree. But we all have to understand that the attacks aren't just coming from the left. They're also coming from the right in the sense that there is a uniparty that is very different from you and I. You and your
100%.
Democratic neighbor are much more alike than you and a Republican in a revolving door job at Raytheon. And you're going to have people attack you. And whether or not someone is directed by the government in some FBI COINTELPRO operation, or they are simply acting the same, it's the same thing. And so, what do I mean by that? If we detect a missile launch coming over the North Pole, NORAD goes on high alert. Sometimes that missile is going to have a megaton warhead. Sometimes, and this has happened, it's a rover going to Mars that Russia didn't warn us about. The missile looks the same. If someone attacks you, it could very well be a federal operative. It might just be someone who's trying to get their own clout and profit from that. The effect is the same. If someone is dividing a movement by infighting, because if they're intelligent, they're not stupid. They may be evil, but they're not stupid. To attack from the outside, all that does is solidify a movement. It increases tribalism, it increases brotherhood. We now have a common enemy. It bonds us tighter together.
Right.
They come in and they start. Did you hear Gregg Phillips might be an FBI agent? Did you hear Tommy Carrigan has some history with the DOD? Yeah, I don't know about that. I just heard that. You get these whispers that create cracks in the foundation. So
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that everyone that attacks you is an FBI agent. They might just be an asshole. That's fine too. And if I'm actually being a bad person, I probably deserve attacks. But those three
Sure.
points, it's not all lost. There have been stolen elections before. Parallel structures can exist. We all saw it with COVID and social media. And people are going to come and attack you, and they're going to come in sheep's clothing. And just be aware of that. Don't get flustered. Don't freak out. Just focus on finishing the drill and just take it as a sign that you're doing the right thing. And that's my little 5 minute inspirational speech.
No, that's it. I mean, we package all this stuff and put it in into some chapters, and we sell it as a war guide, right? I mean,
Mm,
this is it. I mean, this is the game. You either get ready to fight, figure out where you fit in the game. Um, but if you think you're going to get to stay, inside the walls of the Alamo and shoot me in the back while I'm working, and I'm not going to fire back,
you're
yeah,
sorely
somebody's
mistaken.
somebody's going to take you out, right? And so it's fine. I mean, you're spot on though with your assessment and your analogies, and we as a movement, I think in many ways are sort of too young to know, right? I mean, just like those lawyers that have only been in this for 4 years, there's a substantial portion of people that support us and help us and work with us, that have only been in it for 4 or 5 years, right? And sometimes it's hard for me to think back. Okay, well, I've been living this for my whole adult life, and I get frustrated sometimes. Well, don't you remember? Oh, wait, weren't even born yet, bro.
Yeah.
And and those kinds of things. But look, as I said, there are more people I think what you can take heart with is there are more people involved in election integrity than ever in my lifetime. I can say that with absolute certainty. Now, are there still naysayers out there? Sure. But look at the polls. I mean, the polls broadly say Democrats, independents, Republicans all polled. I think the average is now about 62, 64% of the people say, yeah, there was a problem. On the Republican side, on the right, think about this. So you've got the entire party apparatus hoping to ignore election integrity because they're afraid of it. They're afraid that they're going to lose because of it. They might get censored. They might get kicked off Twitter. They might whatever. They might lose a vote or whatever. But man, if 80% of Americans don't agree on anything, but if 80% of the Republicans out there are people that predominantly, vote Republican, believe that that cheating's going on in these elections and that they're not free and fair, and you don't believe that, man, you're going to do everything you can do to shut me up and shut everybody else up, and that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. And, are we going to shut up? Absolutely not. Folks like you, folks like me, everybody on our teams, we're ready for the fight. Let's go. Let's do it.
And it might not even be that they don't believe it; it's that they know cheating is going on because they directly benefit from it. So of course,
Yeah, I was going to say, or they're getting paid for it, or somebody's paying them to attack us or me or you or whatever. If that's true, whatever. It's Judgment Day is going to be hell on those people.
So, and this is one thing I always kind of find peace in is for people that go, well, what happens if we keep fighting till death? Hey, man, even if everything works out perfectly, you still die. Like, even best case scenario still ends with you in a casket. So make peace with that.
But be mindful, in a representative republic, it's our duty, right?
Yes.
We have to remain forever vigilant in these elections. The war, the elections are the battles. The war is for the republic. And this has been going on for 225 years. It's not going to end in 2024. It's not going to ever potentially end. This is what they do. They're trying to get control. It's all, in the end, it's about money, power, and control. And if one or more of those is in play, you better get ready to fight.
It'll be this way forever. We will be doing mail-in ballots from a multi-planetary system, and there will be fraud. It's that's just what it is. And just make peace with that. It's the nature of what this is, and it is what it is. It's not hyperbolic to say that this is the hill to die on. When you look at how quickly all of the world went turnkey tyranny in a matter of months. It'll never happen here. Why do you need a gun? In a matter of months in 2020, the world went from like relatively all right to 1984. And there's a meme where I think we've all seen it. There's a little town, there's a giant dam, and there's an ocean. And then you have the threat and whatever, and you can put whatever you want on the meme. And the big reservoir, it says global totalitarian police state. And then the dam says Americans with Second Amendment. And then the town is the rest of the world. There's a reason why. And there's obviously a spiritual sense because these people are deeply evil and want to project power over you. But then that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But strategically, there's a reason why they are so frothing at the mouth to destroy this republic. It's not that they hate the color of the flag or they don't like this landmass. They hate what this stands for. They hate this bastion of freedom for all of its flaws, and there are many. They hate this bastion of freedom that people still, to this day, two friends of mine from Bulgaria and Kosovo, still drag their balls over broken glass to become citizens of because of this place. They don't want that. They don't want for there to be a place for you to run to. They want you to feel hopeless. They want there to be no republic that is the shining city on the hill. They want despair. They want poverty. They want death. They are very open about that. Man, if you're waiting for the hill to die on, what more are you looking for? I mean, do you ever look at like Tom Brady or Kobe Bryant when they get the ball for the last second of the play? And they would always talk about, like, I'm so nervous for it, but this is the thing I've dreamed about. You're a kid playing basketball. You always imagine game 7, fourth quarter, 2 seconds left. Is it nerve-wracking and do you want to throw up? Yes, but that's what you're also here for. Like, I don't know what else you want. Global totalitarian police state run by the World Economic Forum with open and admitted Malthusian intent. Is this not if this isn't the hill to die on, God, I don't. You got high aspirations. I don't. Nothing will satisfy your need. I just
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, Tommy. I
not
mean,
to get my heart rate up and start screaming, but
dude, listen, it's frightening though how many folks still have their head in the sand. Uh, However, people, many thousands and thousands and thousands of people are awake. And I've been in races before where there was, zero election integrity
yeah,
planning. There was no one on the ground. They didn't have a plan for watching the polls. They didn't have a plan for how they were going to deal with cleaning the voter rolls and so on and so forth. Right. But the thing about this year is, and next year, we know now, right? We know now. Are they going to come up with some new schemes? Are they going to try
sure,
to, figure out some? What I think there were 300 lawsuits that were directed at figuring out, how do they get these all mail-in ballots, and how do they get them mailed out to both active and inactive voters, and how do they get these drop boxes in place, and so on and so forth. They just had one of them this past week, right in D.C., where they brought all these election officials in, and presumably they're trying to figure out how they're going to cheat this year. So the next thing you can watch is, where do all the lawsuits start flying? Right.
yeah,
Right now, they're trying to bankrupt us by keeping us tied up in court on suits from 2, 3, 4 years ago. But you can just watch what's going to happen. They're going to start picking off the states that are important to them, and they're going to start suing. And what they're suing for is going to be the guidepost. It's what
yeah.
we need to pay attention to. They always overplay their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Always. They never know when to stop. But they also telegraph their moves.
Yeah.
And we've started doing that too, by the way, just like back in the fall in Arizona. So for any of your people that are looking, I'm going to go ahead and watch it. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was right, you were wrong. When the first day they came out and said, just vote on election day. Don't do anything but vote on election day. They're gonna cheat us if you vote early or whatever. Even if that was your plan, don't tell them that was the plan.
Yeah. What are you doing?
because they knew what to do. They knew,
Yeah.
all we got to do is cheat on election day. So they did,
Yes.
right? They came in and they changed the tabulators. They did everything so it would all start on election day. They're like, okay, well, they're not going to vote. They're not going to vote in mass on, early, because, everybody's telling them, don't just vote on election day. Don't, not everybody needs to know what you're doing.
They sneaky.
It's called OPSEC, guys.
Yeah.
Loose lips sink ships. Come on,
Yeah.
this has been going on from the beginning of time. Shut up, do your thing. Don't telegraph.
Put a bunch of inflatable tanks. Make them think Patton's coming in from over there.
Exactly.
Come inside. Come inside. It's
Exactly.
so
Greatest info op of all time.
they give it the absolute best. They took that soldier and threw his body on the shore and put fake messages on it saying we're gonna invade over here. Yeah, go full Eisenhower on them. But lastly, I kind of want to. I know I'll let you go in a couple minutes. We'll kind of wrap up on this. And I always think of like Tim Dillon. He's my favorite comedian. He's the most unholy man in the world, but always makes fun of like inspirational speakers who are like, you just got to go out, you got to crush it, you got to get it, and you just got to get after it. And he's like, what does that mean? Where am I going? What am I crushing? What am I doing? It's great. It's inspirational. What am I doing? So like, I'll always tell people to start podcasts or start working out, and then I'll tell them what they can realistically do. I'll be like, get a laptop and just record your first episode. Go back to my first episode, and it's horrible. And you learn. If you don't know how to work out, start doing push-ups, start doing sit-ups, and you'll learn from there. So you and I are, we're telling you to get out, to defend. Yeah, we're getting all the good sound bites in there. It's the Alamo, blah, blah, blah. What can people actually do? So they finish the episode, and then they're just sitting there in their chair, and their heart rate's racing, and they're like, now I don't know what to do. And I'm just thinking, you're talking about lawyers who don't have who don't have that experience. So for instance, me, there are a lot of people I could contact that are lawyers that I could put in touch with you. But for the average person listening, who's just listening to this and who wants to do something, but they don't know what to do, what do they do? I mean, go into the description, go follow Gregg, go follow his website, go follow him on Truth. But like realistically, what can they do? Is there a place to go sign up to be a poll watcher? Is there something to follow? Is there a newsletter? Is there a book to read? What is something the average person can actually do?
Yeah, it's a few practical things. The first is to get ready for the elections. You got to start signing up in advance, right? And there's lots of great election integrity groups all over the country. Catherine and the team at True the Vote are have all sorts of mechanisms to get people plugged in, to refer you out, and to do things. They also have their own programs. Second thing is we have to clean the voter rolls, guys. We have to clean the voter rolls. We built an app last year called IV3, IV number 3.us. And the purpose of IV3 was to allow citizens to help clean the voter rolls in your own county. You can go in and challenge people that don't live there anymore. We've got it. I don't know if it's still. We're going to relaunch it here in a couple of days. I don't know if it's still up and running. IV3.us.
IV3
and
dot US.
.us. So we're going to push that back out into the world. But the other thing we're going to do, Tommy, is
Yeah.
we're going to push this into. We're going to take the code and make it open source. So if you don't like what we've built in IV3, go build your own. Here you go. Here's $100,000 worth of development work in the can right here. You can have it. So we're going to push that out. The final thing we're going to do, which I'm really, really excited about, is we're going to team up with our folks on the other side of our team. So we're going to team up with Patriot Games, and we're going to team Open Ink with it. And what we're going to do is we're going to create, think of them as war games. We're going to teach people how to do research. We're going to teach people how to clean rolls. We're going to teach people how to go out and find data that needs to be ingested and made public. So we've got a whole series of Patriot games that we're about to launch. So again, think of a game. Game is a euphemism for war or battle, let's say. So we're going to set up a whole bunch of war games, war battles, and we're going to teach people how to do this, how to scrape. You know, a lot of people don't even know how to scrape legally. And so there's all sorts of different tools. We're going to teach them how to play offense. We're going to teach them how to play defense. For folks that want to do one, do the other. We're going to have some capture the flag type games where you can go in and partner with your buddies, and maybe win a prize or two. And so we're going to try to engage more people on this front, all the while being mindful of the timeline that will have us voting in the primaries before we know it. And then we'll have us full on in the general election in 12 months from today. We'll already be ready to fight. And having a fully trained group, like it's like sending team guys, right? Team guys come in and people think, oh man, they got to go through hell week and then they're done. Well, dude, you still got 2+ more years before you're even thinking about being done.
Yeah.
And in the teams, right? And then when you get out, the team guys they're bringing you in are kind of vet you and see who they're going to take, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else gets kind of shoved off to the side. So the strong survive, the best live to fight. We've got to put our very best out there, whether it's in many insurgencies, counterinsurgencies around the country to help with these insurgencies that the left is building against us, or whether it's just full on out and out war to get these voter rolls clean. Keep eyes on these drop boxes and all the other pieces that go with the process that is so flawed and so broken that got us into trouble. The final thing is we have to adequately and properly target. We're building a targeting mechanism that's allowing us to score states and score precincts and counties, and then down to precincts, down to census blocks. We're going to be able to give those people at that local level all of the information they need, all the way down to the actual house, who they need to go knock on that door, whether it's to get folks out to vote. We're going to teach them how to get eyes on, and we've got a whole series of things going on. It's fun, it's interesting. We've got tons of tech we can deploy into this. Between us all, I think we've got 100-something years of experience in election integrity. We have the biggest data store regarding elections in the world. And we're going to use it all, and we're going to bring it to bear on this problem. And if folks don't think that we can win this electoral college, they're wrong.
Yeah. And so I just updated the description, and if you're watching the podcast right now on Rumble, refresh it after it's over, and I'll have it updated. But I have IV3.us. I have the link in there. I also put in the register to vote on just us.gov. Just find out how to vote. I have the link to your podcast, Patriot Games, and then I have the link to your Truth Social. And this is just kind of popping into
Open Ink.
Open Ink.
Open.ink.
Let me put that in there too.
Open Ink's fun, guys. I mean, Open Ink's going to be a blast. We've done. It's ultimately going to think of it as an alternative search engine. All the stuff that Google's hiding, all the stuff that Bing's hiding, and and the normal index search engines. It's that, but we're also going to be generating what we call special collections. So the first one we put out, just to kind of test how it would go, we put all of that conic data. When with the people that got us put in jail, we put all of the conic data up there. So it's open.ink/conic. We put it up on a Monday. By Tuesday, the lawyers on the other side wanted to drop the case. You can fight back with information. We can gather. We can fight back. We can do this together. Don't quit. Don't back off. Strengthen your backbone, and find somebody like Tommy. Find somebody like us, and partner up and let's go fight.
So I got open.ink, IV3.us, register to vote. I have you linked to your podcast. I have the Truth Social. And lastly,
truethevote.org.
Truethevote.org. Let me get that in there. And
truethevote.org.
Truethevote.org. All right. I will put that in there as well. And again, guys, if you're looking at the Rumble description, it'll be in there after I update the description and whenever this podcast ends in a couple seconds or a couple minutes. For lawyers, you got to have people that know how to, my buddy Dale was in Delta Force for 20 years. And what you're talking about is, get through Hell Week. Dale said that when he was finally got through the hell of selection, they get there and his commander goes, if you don't give 110% every single day, you can give 110% every day for a decade. If on the next day you stop giving 110%, you're gone. He goes, selection is a continuous process. You either retire, get killed, or you're cut. There's no, and that's
100%.
That's Dale. Dale's a machine.
And that's why Delta is the most effective fighting force in the world.
That's why Delta is Delta, and that's why Dale is Dale. And so for lawyers, you talk about train how you fight and always be there and be ready. For lawyers that want to get involved, is there a way to contact you? Is there an about us? Is there because I know not everyone can just tweet at you or Truth Social at you. You're one man. You can't respond to everyone. Is there a general email or website that they can go say, hey, I'm a lawyer in wherever and I'd like to donate my time?
Yeah, truethevote.org.
Truethevote.org. Okay.
Yeah, Catherine's gathering up a lot of that. We started to build a team already. Probably later this year, we're going to build up a little bit of a fund. One of the other things they're doing is they're out suing just regular folks, podcasters and others. They sue them and get them, to spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 just to come in and give a deposition about, what they said on XYZ podcast. And, it's a for the uninitiated, I mean, it's like, well, wait, what? Why do they want to talk to me?
Yeah.
But the reality is what they're trying to do is they're trying to bankrupt you. And next time you want to have Gregg Phillips or one of us on your podcast, they want you to think, I might get in trouble, or I might have to go do another deposition, or I might have to go spend 10 grand on a lawyer. So we're going to build a fund. We're going to put together some ways that, patriots that are exposing themselves to all of this have a place to go. We've already started supporting people this year. We've got a big case going in Arizona. It wasn't ours. We just supported them with a legal team. We've got another one going on in Florida right now where we supported a group with a legal team. And so we've got a long way to go. We've got a lot to build, but it's that whole parallel party thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the party's not going to do it and the party's not going to help, and what do you do?
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not advocating for the devolution of the party, and if the party just completely go away, that's not true. But we got a lot to think about.
And lastly, I would say on a personal note, so I put all those links in there. What can you do listening? And this kind of just applies to life. It sounds silly, but I mean, you want a black and white difference in your life. Get 8 hours of sleep and go do 10 minutes of exercise a day. That will put you in, not just to go fight and protect the election. You'll do better at a job interview, man. Just as a personal thing, meditate, pray, whatever you want. Find God. If you're not religious, that's fine. Meditate, sleep, exercise, and take 10 minutes a day of just quiet contemplation. That's just generally applicable to all things in life. So take care of yourself.
Amen.
Mr. Gregg Phillips, thank you so much for your time, sir. Always an honor having you on. I will forever hate you for your beard, and I'm jealous of it, but I will look past that as my own character flaw. And
thanks, brother.
Try to grow my own beard one day.
Appreciate you, man. Talk soon.
Phillips. Love you, brother. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
God bless. Please go do the right thing. Thank you for watching. Gregg